Hey everybody, welcome to our next panel at the ADAC Sim Racing Expo 2024. I'm glad to have some nice guys right here with me on the stage. Our topic is how to set up a car and events in sim racing and re-racing. And I'd like to introduce you to Josh Martin, owner of SimStuff. Hi, great to have you here. Charlie Crossland, owner of Hymo Sim Setups. Good to have you here. And also Tommy Schöter of Baseline Driver Training. Hi. So maybe you just shortly introduce yourselves to the audience so that everybody know who is whom and what you're doing.
I'm Charlie Crossland. I run Hymo Setups. I'm basically the background of everything, trying to make sure the drivers do all the setups on time and get them out to the customers.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So my name's Josh. I run SimStaff. We're a staffing provider. We're also a partner to the show this year. So we provide opportunities for people in sim racing to work in the industry.
Okay, and you?
Yeah, and my name is Tommy, and I have Baseline Driver Training, and I'm working as a driver coach for wheel racing driver and sim drivers, and I also have made a software for pedal training, pedal input training.
Okay, great to have you here, guys. Let's get into it. What are setups and why are they so important IRL in sim racing?
I mean, setups are important because they just improve the car's performance overall. If you don't have setups, you're just simply going against yourself. You just can't go as fast as your competitors. So they're important both in IRL and in sim, since you just don't want to be slow. If you're going into sim racing or any racing, you don't want to be slow. You want to be one of the fastest drivers. So it's just important all around to have the maximized setup.
So if I'm new to sim racing, what I obviously am, how can I do it? Like you as a pro, like there are so many parameters to change and to fix. I don't know. So what would you recommend to start with, and then like going on further?
I mean, I would always recommend to not go into the deep end and try and learn stuff yourself. But eventually, everyone's going to hit a brick wall, and you then go in to look at other paths, whether it's looking at coaching or going to look at a setup to compare your setup to. Because it's always good to find the best setup for you before you just use someone else's setup.
Okay, so can we maybe just do a little deep dive into what you are doing? So how are you doing it? How do you start, and what is then following? And do you have certain setups for like cars, obviously, but also for racetracks and so on?
Yeah, so obviously it differentiates from track to track, but you always have your toe, your aero, your mechanical grip. You have to just change dampers to whatever. But what changes track to track is obviously aero, and to be honest, the drivers are the ones who have the best setups. It's trying to find the words to it.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. So if I am a driver and already like competing on a high level, how can I approach you, and what would you do then for me?
So obviously for Hymo we have our own subscription, so you can contact through the description or on a Discord, and you can get customer support, and we'll help you with your needs. So say you've got some oversteer, we'll try and help you remove that oversteer or make it controllable.
So you're somehow the mechanics in sim racing, right? Like you're getting everything set up as the name says. You approach that one from a different level, or from a different angle, not in the technique wise, but driver wise. So maybe you can give us a brief insight of how you are working, and I guess we have a video which we can run behind us so that everybody can see what you are explaining.
Yeah, of course, it's important with the right setup of the car, but also the driver needs to work correctly with the car, and especially with your pedals. The way you are turning the car, you have the steering wheel, but you have your pedals, the braking and the throttle, and the signal from there comes from your brain and down to your muscles memory. So we're working a lot with that kind of stuff, and that you as a driver know, okay, today I'm in a good mood or I'm in a bad mood. So how can I then be the best version of myself when I'm driving out there? So this is what we're working a lot about.
And also, before you told me like you work like basically on the pedaling, like on how to push the pedals and stuff. Can you explain it more?
Yeah, you can see it's right there. It's our software, and it's how you apply to the brake, how fast you go on the brake, how hard you go on the brake, and also how you release the brake. And after that, do you go directly on the throttle, or do you wait a little and be patient and then just move it smooth? So it depends on the setup of the car, it depends on the car, it depends on the track. So you as a driver need to adapt to whatever you are driving in or which track you are driving on.
Do you have some quick learnings for everybody, like which is for every driver, good to know things?
I would say be patient, and then also it takes time to be a good driver. So try to do the same thing over and over again. Find some landmarks, find somewhere braking points where to turn in, where to release the brake, where to go on the throttles. Find some landmarks and look at the good drivers instead of looking at the bad drivers. Because the good drivers are the drivers who are doing the right things, and not the bad drivers that you're comparing yourself against or racing against.
Walking around here, you see people driving all the time, like in the sim rigs. Do you watch the feet and how they are working? And like, yeah, I can see your face like, oh yeah. What do they do wrong? Is it that patience?
It's the patience, and it's also the awareness. I just talked with Benny Leuchter, Volkswagen driver, and some of his drivers are coming in to the pit and complaining about the brakes are not working. But if they're left foot braking and they adapt the brake before they release the throttle, then they will overheat the brakes. So this is kind of stuff that we're looking really much into, and you think you are doing it, but your brain and the signals down to the braking foot is not what you're doing.
Okay, crazy. Then maybe switch over. Approaching sim racing from the event side, this is pretty much your...
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously the sim racing industry is continuing to evolve. Even this year, you compare the size of the show; it's bigger and better. So for us as a business, we try to go back to basics, which I think is what both these guys are saying with their respective industries. Ultimately, we employ sim racers first. So the reason for that is because if this is your first time to a show like this, it can be quite daunting. There can be a lot to learn. And there's nothing worse than stepping in and driving a car that isn't set up properly. It can be quite frustrating and ultimately kind of get people not interested in sim racing. So by having sim racers working with people and kind of supporting the industry, we create events that are exciting. We can give them advice, and then they can kind of make their way up the ladder, whether it's to a setup shop or to a full driver training program as well.
I think this shows very good what sim racing is all about. There's this technical side, there's the driver side, and there's also the event side. So for everyone who is like interested in this world, how would you recommend to step into what you are doing and maybe like find a career or something?
Yeah, for sure. So we are a company that's global. We've got just over 100 sim racers in 17 different countries. And the reason really is that we're trying to help grow the event industry with sim racing on a global scale. So you can go onto our website at SimStaff. You can supply your CV and apply for a job and work with us. And kind of then give you the opportunity to do stuff that isn't just being a driver, because I'm sure you guys feel the same. The career opportunities in sim racing now isn't just being a driver. There's so much more that goes on and so many different opportunities for people.
From your I come again. It's Sunday, guys. Yesterday we had a party. What can I say? So from your perception or perspective, how would you tell people how can people get into what you're doing?
So I mean, for esports and setups, it's just you got to drive. You got to drive all the time. So what I would say is just practice, and then eventually you'll get quick enough, and someone will contact you. Because every setup shop's in need of engineers or coaching or anything. It's such a high demand for it, but there's not many people who are actually doing it on a good level.
And from your perception, because for most of sim racers, what you do is pretty much unknown, maybe. Because you come actually from real racing, there it's quite common, I guess. But in sim racing, not so much, is it?
Yeah, I will say in motorsport it's pretty unknown what we're doing. So we are trying to change the way racing drivers are practicing.
Okay.
I'm working as a mental coach, and I've been working with football player, ice hockey player, and so on, and seeing they're separating their skills, so they're not playing a whole game when they are training. In motorsport, we're driving a whole race when we're training. But we are here trying to take that out and just separate it, only working with the way you adapt to the brake, for example.
Okay, so since you're also a mental coach, maybe you have some tips for all the drivers out here to get set up for a race to focus or to find your, I don't know, certain approach to that?
Yeah, you can do as I did half an hour ago. I went out to my car, closed my eyes, did some mindfulness, and then just thought about what do I want to do here and be calm, relaxed, and hopefully I did a good job.
Yeah, from my perception, absolutely. Is it maybe pretty much the same for you? Because like setting up events also means a lot of stress, a lot of work, less sleep, stuff like that. So how do you prepare?
No, definitely. I think it can be long, especially if the shows are busy. There's a lot of people coming through. So mindfulness it's a great trick to have. And you can do that on your lunch break, right? 15, 20 minutes, and it works really, really well. Because ultimately, every time someone, a customer or a guest steps in the simulator, you want them to have that best experience from every time. And it needs to be just as good as the first or the last. So by having people who are fresh, rested, and enjoying themselves, most importantly, it's super, super important to be relaxed.
Okay. One more. That would be, is maybe a little bit harsh, but so how important do you think are you in person for the sim racing world? Like, which is the most important part of sim racing? Is it yours? Is it yours, or is it yours?
Okay. First of all, you need a sim. That's the most important part. I think if you don't have a sim, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
But after that, then you need the driver.
Yeah. And the driver is super important.
I think so. The driver does the different. You can have a fast driver or you can have a slow driver. And you can have a fast driver and ask him to be slow. But you can't have a slow driver and ask him to be fast. So I think the fast driver have more opportunities.
Sounds quite obvious.
Yeah, I think the events industry is obviously important for a variety of reasons. Ultimately, it gives people a chance to showcase what they're doing, whether that's as professional drivers, as commentators, whatever it is. So I feel by having shows like this, people get to see into our world and what we do. So obviously I'm biased, but I would say that the events industry is quite important. But obviously, you need a SIP to have at the events as well, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, me personally, and on the Heimer's behalf, I think that we're probably more important just because we're employing the future world champions. These guys are so talented, but they just didn't have the funds to go further in the real world, and we're helping them push their funds further and make sim racing and motorsport a real full-time thing. So it's so good to see that it's happening now, that these sim racers are going into the real world.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. I guess we're coming to an end, but this will be the moment where you guys are all approachable for everyone here. So maybe you can do a little bit of advertising for yourselves so that people can get in contact with you, and maybe they are interested in what you're doing and want to do the same or something like that. So tell us your contact details.
Yeah, you just saw it before, and we had this QR code, but baselinedrivertraining.com, and then you will find out whatever we are doing.
Yeah, that's perfect. And it's Sim Staff, really, we want to showcase that for anyone who's a sim racer, if you have 1 day a week free, if you are working full-time but want to work in sim racing because you're passionate about it, we're looking for people across the globe. We are really trying to grow that network of sim racers globally. So you can check out the website. Feel free to kind of chat to me if you see me about. And we'd love to work with more sim racers. It's super important for us to give people the chance to work full-time in something that they're passionate about,
I mean, I would say just contact us at Heimer Setups on Instagram. But in terms of employment, I think we'll contact you if we were looking for talent.
Okay, perfect. So, Josh, Charlie, Tommy, thanks for being here. Great to have you. And for all of you, what's coming up next? Tim Heinemann is coming up next. He's going to be here with Luke at 4 p.m. So join in again. Thank you for watching. See you then. Bye-bye.